Hey everybody,
Hello.
welcome to
Hi.
North Shore Lux Living with Evan and Vittoria. Thanks for joining us. As we hope you will join us every single week. This is our opportunity to talk to you about the real estate market, about living on the North Shore in Chicago, offer
And
tips and
about some
tricks,
luxury real estate,
and about some luxury real
right?
estate. It's right in the title. So hopefully that's why you're here, because that's what we're going to talk about today. Victoria, before we get too into the nitty gritty of this, how are things going? You personally, like, give us some anecdotes. What
Yeah,
has life been like for you since we
sure.
last talked?
So as agents, we've been able to take a little bit of a breather. It hasn't been as crazy. The market has taken, like I said, a little bit of a breather. Inventory levels are still super low, but it's really shifted a tiny bit. I think there are some buyers or a lot of buyers are exhausted by what's been going on, multiple offers, losing, properties, and those that have not had the opportunity to purchase are feeling like, values are going up so much that they don't want to, quote unquote, buy in a bubble, even though there's really no bubble here. So it's really come down to it being a pricing and a beauty contest. If you're priced right and you look beautiful, it'll sell. Market times are a little bit longer. We used to see like a few days to a week. Now maybe 30, 40 days, which is still low. In the back pre-pandemic, I think we were looking 180, 200 days sometimes for market time. So 30, 45 days, not so bad.
Yeah, I think sometimes we have to take a step back and sort of remind ourselves of what's more normal when it comes to all this, right? Because it's been so frenzied, it's been so crazy, you kind of get used to that. But that isn't
Right. It
necessarily
has for about
the
18
normal
months. It's been
equilibrium, right?
frenzied and crazy. Absolutely. Right. It's not a normal equilibrium. And it's still, like I said, low inventory. But I think that buyers are being a little bit more particular. And, you know, typically it's really super busy for the spring market. So a lot of buyers have to get in for schools. Now we're looking at the buyers that have a little bit more time, or younger children or older children, or they're downsizing. So they can be a little bit more picky because they're not in that rush to get in before school starts.
Yeah, there's no question. I think we're going to get into some of these specific questions that are sort of motivating where buyers are right now. And for a lot of reasons, I think buyers are still maybe a little bit shell shocked by what we saw over the summer, because it was very difficult as a buyer, because you'd come in and there'd be, three, four,
Multiple
five other
offers.
offers, maybe
Yep.
more. That's a difficult situation for people to be in. And
And
I
they get
think I don't
exhausted.
Right. I don't blame people for kind of taking a step back from that. And it seems
Right.
like that's what's happening a little bit. And in fact, we're going to bring up our market minute here, and that is kind of the crux of it. And Victoria, I'll let you sort of talk over this. I'm going to bring up an article that we found
Okay.
from our great trade magazine, Inman News, which
Yeah.
gives us a really good sense of what's going on a broad scale. It's not necessarily specific to here on the North Shore, but I do think it gives a good overarching picture of what's happening as we move here into the fall, and we get into a more of a seasonal market. So I'll bring this up here,
Yeah.
and you can sort of talk us through your sense of where the market is
Sure.
right now. All right, so there it is.
So yeah, cooling prices, tighter inventory, less competition for sure. Um, Typically the housing market definitely takes a pause and slows down a little bit in the fall months, and then even more so during the holidays. Um, we have seen really nice price appreciation in the Chicagoland area, North Shore. It hadn't really appreciated much prior to the pandemic, and so now we're finally catching up. We're not in this crazy bubble, where it says here, 17.7% year over year. We did not have that, unfortunately. We were very stagnant, even 0% for some years. Now that is on a national level, but luckily here in the Chicagoland and North Shore, our prices, our values have gone up, which is fantastic. But sellers can't go on the market just keep and expect to keep having that kind of gain continually. We do feel that mortgage rates will hold steady at least through the end of this year. So if you're a buyer, it would be great to get in with these super low interest rates, because everyone is expecting them to go up in 2022. But I would say, I see how buyers would get frustrated if they've been in these multiple offer situations. But, now would be actually a really great time to get in the market, because you won't see as many of these competing offers as we have in the past. and it might be a great opportunity for a buyer to get in now, still with the low interest rates.
Yeah, and we're going to illustrate that in just a second. But I think the point to be made there is that everybody sort of tries to time the market. We're guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. But
Right.
what can end up happening is as interest rates do eventually go up, and at some point we're looking at 2022, it sounds like is when we're going to start to see that. When they do go up, then all of a sudden, even if you do end up getting that property that you've been eyeing at a lower price, you may pay that back in higher interest rates in your mortgage. So it's just so hard to know for sure. I mean, generally speaking, the advice that we tend to give to people is that if there's a property out there that is right for you, that is going to fit your life, go for it, because
100%. You can't time the market, just like we can't time the stock market, right? It's your home. Yes,
I've been trying so long.
Right.
I've yet to hit it. All right, so let's get into that a little bit. Vittoria, can you give us a little bit of historical perspective on where interest rates are right now while I pull up this graphic here? Because people know they're low, and it sort of feels like, well, they've been low for a while now, but this is so far beneath what over a long period you come to expect for interest rates. I think sometimes it's good to put into perspective where
100%.
they normally are and where they have been over the longer period.
When we bought our first house in 2021, which is a million years ago, our interest rate was like 6.5, 7, which was great. And they've just kept coming down, and they've been sort of teetering around that 3%, a little bit over, a little bit less, just kind of depending on your your particular circumstance. But interest rates can't just they can't stay this low forever. And I think what the Fed is expecting to do in the early part of next year is take some more money out of the market, because we don't want to go into an inflation either, right? So according to this, right, we're looking at an average of about 3.2, which still is historically low, really, really low, even though people are getting like 2.85 these days. And so here we have Freddie Mac, Fannie, MBNA, National Association of Realtors, all with their sort of expectations and just trying to figure out where the projections. Thank you. Yes, it says it right there. Projections. Yes, exactly. Because no one really has a crystal ball and knows. But even a little bit of an uptick is still okay. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they went closer to 4% by the end of next year.
And let's even give some historical perspective to that. When we bought our first place, it was in Wicker Park. It was around 2012-ish, right?
Okay.
We got it around 4%, and that was absurd. I mean, I remember telling my parents that, and they were just apoplectic that rates were that low, and they hadn't realized, because then they went and refinanced. That was just 9 years ago. That was considered absolutely bananas to get a rate at 4%. And so, even if we were to go back up to that from a historical perspective, those are still really good rates. But if you're buying now with the rates that we have today, and you're able to lock in a fixed rate, that is still a significant difference between high 2s, low 3s, and 4%. So it's just something to have in the back of your mind when you're calculating all this stuff. Obviously affordability isn't just the total amount of money that you're paying for property. It has to do with your monthly expenses and what you can afford and how that's going to affect your life. Yeah, your life on a day-to-day basis. There are so many things that go into it. And so for us, we just want to make sure that clients are thinking about all those things and understanding how it's going to affect their daily life, their finances, their expenses, and what they want to afford, what they can't afford, and how they can find different ways to maybe have better affordability by taking advantage of things like the low interest rates.
Agreed. And we really should look at the big picture, not just interest rates, right? It's called PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And that is your monthly nut for what you're going to spend on your housing. So that's, that's the most important thing, not just these percentages of interest rates, but because taxes obviously play a huge role into it. And especially here being in the Chicagoland area, we pay quite a bit of taxes. I always say we get our money's worth, because our schools are amazing and we're not paying, for private schools, but the property taxes can be definitely a big chunk of someone's monthly expenditure for housing.
Yeah, there's no question about it. All right, so our next, we're gonna skip ahead because I just brought this up, and we might as well take advantage
Let's talk
of.
about Lux Living and luxury on the North Shore.
Hold on. All right, everybody, just to pull you behind the curtain a little bit. This is me pushing a lot of buttons and figuring out how to get things to come on the screen, which I'm not quite there yet. So bear with me. I will get better. But this is going to be there we go. Today's Lux property. Victoria, it's one of yours. So I'm going to bring this up full screen here, and you can sort of talk us through this property, because I mean, I think Lux, if we're going to talk Lux properties, this is a great example.
It really is. It's absolutely stunning. It's 905 volts in East Northbrook, and it's on over 1.25 acres. It's got over 2,500 square feet on each floor of living space. A gorgeous pool, a beautiful, stunning pool.
This is not to interrupt you, but this is my favorite part of this property is the lot. The lot is so secluded. It's so gorgeous. It just feels like you have your own piece of the North Shore back there. Yes. It really is really lovely.
Private oasis. Yeah, absolutely. And it backs up to Techni land, which is just the church owns it. They will never build on it. So it's super private. I was there the other day and there's deer in the backyard. I mean, it is seriously just so beautiful and peaceful. And then the inside is phenomenal as well. It's been completely updated with brand new paint. It's just gorgeous. It has a 4 bedrooms upstairs. The master wing is absolutely gorgeous. A 4-car garage, which is sort of unheard of, a 4-car garage. And the eating area there flows into the family room, which is huge. A wine cellar with about, I think, 1,300, wine bottles that you can store. It's got that sunroom where the billiards table was, which is right off of the pool. It's absolutely beautiful. That's the living room. The living room is spectacular. Yeah. 4 fireplaces, and it's on volts, but it's really tucked back, and it's absolutely stunning. It's really your true private oasis. And it's in East Northbrook. Great schools. District 28 is the elementary school, Northbrook Junior High, and then Glenbrook North High School, which the 225 Glenbrook North, Glenbrook South, District 225 was just named on Niche #2 high school district in the country. So
that was really exciting. In fact, I wish I had brought up that graphic, because that was cool.
Go to niche.com and you will see District 225, High School District 225, which is Glenbrook North and Glenbrook South. And it has, #2 in the country. Now there's the mudroom. So it has a mudroom. It has a ginormous butler pantry you can even call it sort of a butler pantry. That's right off of the dining room. And it's just this huge 2-story foyer with a bridal sweeping staircase. It's just gorgeous. So it is true luxury living on the North Shore. Absolutely.
Which is why that is the name of our show. So there you go, everybody. I promise we would show it to you. Yeah. All right. So let me bring us back up here. Okay. Thank you for showing that to everybody. This is the kind of stuff, like if you're looking for those just amazing, cool homes that, we all sort of like, whether you're in real estate or not, we all sort of like to check those out and imagine living
aspirations.
In them. Yes, aspirational living for sure. Yeah. That is what we're going to bring to you every single week here on the show. We're also going to bring you tips, because, I feel like a lot of people, they're just looking for ways to make the process easier, make it better for them. And so every week we want to try to give you a little bit of knowledge to help make things when it comes to either buying or selling or whatever aspect of real estate that
renovating.
We can help in any way possible. And we're going to give you the email address at the end of the show so that you can send in your questions, because we want to help you. And that's what we're sort of here for. So our tip of the day sort of is seasonal, and we're getting into the fall season, which, as we know here in the Chicagoland area, means that we have about 9 days left until snow. Maybe 10.
Stop. Don't say that.
I'm just being realistic.
It's not even October yet.
I'm just trying to prepare everybody.
Right.
Just get that. I took my daughter out to the bus this morning and she was shivering. And so, that sort of just put the bell in my head that said, okay, summer, it was fun. We enjoyed it. And now it's winter, because there are only 2 seasons here.
No, it's going to be 80 by I think the next.
That's true. We get 2 more. Yeah, you're right. We get 2 more days.
Our weather's a little schizophrenic.
And then it's gone. The reason I bring that up is because if you are somebody who is thinking about putting your home on the market anytime in the next several months, one thing that you might want to think about is getting in touch with your broker now and thinking about getting some of those pictures taken before winter comes. And Vittoria, I'll let you explain why that makes such a difference potentially.
Yep, absolutely. So, I'm having these discussions every day now where clients are calling and saying, well, we're thinking about spring or February or early next year. And what I say is, let's get everything ready now. Let's get those photos taken when it's still green and lush and beautiful, and you have a perspective of the backyard versus it being just full of snow. And, that way, when the quote unquote spring comes, whenever that might be for you, February, March, April, we know April, Chicagoland,
June.
it's June. It's, sometimes we don't have green grass until June. So it's nice to have those photos. Now we still take seasonal photos. So we'll still take photos of the snow, but to have those garden photos so people can actually see what your gardens look like and your backyard looks like all in bloom and in green. It's truly beautiful, but it's something that really should be planned for now, even if you're not looking to sell until 2022.
Because I think it's one of those things where the less that people have to imagine about what it would be like at your house, at your property, if they were to live there, the better, right? It's hard for people to picture those things sometimes. It's hard for me to picture those things.
Absolutely. Yeah. People can't see beyond paint colors. We know they have a hard time using their imagination. And, when it's just a blanket of snow, it's hard for them to imagine what the yard looks like. And oftentimes they look smaller. Our yards look smaller when it's just a big, huge, mound of white until your eye can see. And so, there's no perspective there.
I'll give you a great example. At our house, I saw our house before it got cold. My wife only saw pictures. She never actually stepped into the house before we bought it. That's a whole other story we'll get to in another show.
She must have really trusted you.
She did not, but it worked out for us. So she never got to see the house. And in my description, I took lots of pictures, and I was here in June, and I said, wow, the backyard, it's lush. There's all of these perennials, and it's private. The grass is beautiful. You're gonna love this lot.
That's nice.
So then she got here. By the time she got here, it was November, and she walked in the backyard, and she was like, "Did we buy a different backyard than what
funny.
Yeah. And obviously, she was just giving me a hard time. And we do love the yard, and everything grew back in the spring. But it just is so different. It was such a difference from November, June to November, just having all of that greenery not there anymore. It was a totally different impression. And honestly, had I been here and seen it in November and not had those pictures to show her about what it would be like in the spring, I don't know if we would be here, honestly, because I don't know, that might have been a bridge too far to imagine what it would be like. And so little things like that, just being able to not ask people to envision it themselves. And because honestly, that's sometimes not fair to somebody, because then you're asking them to imagine something that may not be reality, right? You want to show them how beautiful it really is in the spring, and how much they're going to love, having that property when the weather gets nice. And I think that that's a big help for people.
Right. Absolutely. So in order to do that, have those pictures taken now. We do a lot with drone too, depending on where you're living, to give an aerial photo. It's so important, again, to give those, potential buyers a visual beyond, our snow and kind of crappy weather, if you will, because
I will.
We know we have many months of that. So
I definitely will. Oh, so that was our tip of the day. Here is the email address.
Get your photos now, basically.
Yeah, get your photos now.
Yeah.
Now, if you would like to ask your questions, there's an easy way to do it. We've put together an email address just for the show. You see it right there on the screen, evanandvittoria@gmail.com. Super simple. Send us an email, ask us whatever's on your mind, and hopefully we'll be able to get those questions in on the show. That's kind of the idea behind this, is we want to be here for you, to be a sounding board. If you have things that you want to talk to us about, send them in. This is the perfect vehicle for us to be able to really address things that are on people's minds. And I think, Vittoria, I think you probably agree, that's the best way for us to provide content that's useful for people, right? Is for them to help us understand 100%. What they're thinking about and what they want to know.
Questions and topics that you guys want us to cover, right? That there are things that perhaps you're interested in that we might find boring, or that we, don't think about as agents, because we do this all the time. We live it and breathe it, but that the regular consumer might actually want to see, certain topics. So we'd love to hear from you guys.
So there it is. It's right on the screen. evanandvittoria@gmail.com. Super simple.
2 T's, no C. 2 T's, no C.
That's true.
Otherwise,
and Evan with an A.
Yeah.
Evan with an A. Yeah.
Exactly. So wonderful.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on this episode today. we're going to be doing this every single week. So
Yeah.
make sure you come find us, and we will see you next week.
Talk to you soon.